welcome to Morning Trade with Money Control. I'm Karunya Rao and I'm here to help you navigate the trading day with actionable strategies, sectoral trends and most importantly, your queries during the show. So please keep commenting on our live feed. We'll have your questions addressed towards the end of the show. But let's get started and see what the global handover looks like. Europe closed higher as the region felt the impact of UK's fiscal U-turns and anticipated new EU measures to tackle energy prices. Stoxx 600 index rose by 0.4% towards the end of the session as all major bourses logged in gains. Wall Street rallies for the second straight day. Indices gain about 1% in a choppy session with earnings leading the markets higher. Stocks in the Asia-Pacific region trade higher as well, following a strong handover from Wall Street for a second day on the trot. SGX Nifty, however, is indicating a higher start for the Indian market. Will FMCG sector continue to be marred by input cost inflation even in Q2? We get you a detailed preview ahead of key consumer earnings lined up this week. Also in the spotlight are Adani Enterprises, Icici Lombard and Praj Industries. All right, let's talk markets then. Bring on board our technical expert for the day, Himen Kapadia from KR Choksi. Morning, Himen, and thanks for joining in. How's the setup looking, and will you be also betting on that positive start to sustain for the Indian markets?
A very good morning to you, Karunya. Thank you for having me. I think, yes, a positive start because we spent almost 6 hours yesterday, Karunya, consolidating after the gap up. Now, two things. We've had a bullish gap. A market has a tendency to cover up gaps, Karunya. Now, we haven't done that yesterday, obviously. We don't look like doing that today. But in the next few trading sessions or in the next 4-5 trading sessions, one gets the feeling that we might just make an attempt to cover up this gap. But yes, the setup, like you mentioned, is good. The VIX is below 18, Karunya. That is a big positive for the market. And yes, I mean, you've seen market breadth improving. The mid caps have recovered. You know, market leaders like Reliance have started looking positive on the chart. So frankly speaking, everything seems decently set. Yes, but I wouldn't like to chase the gap up, Karunya, from that point of view. But yes, I think the setup seems good. The bank Nifty is leading and IT and Reliance, I think, are the two pillars for the market to go ahead and not to forget banks, Karunya.
Yeah, and Reliance definitely this week will be in the limelight on, the back of numbers that are going to come out later this week. But let's talk about some more individual names that could be in the spotlight on back of news flow and earnings. The first one I want to highlight is Adani Enterprises. Now, its subsidiary company, Adani Defence Systems, has planned to acquire Airworks for an enterprise value of 400 crore rupees. In fact, the company has already signed a definitive agreement to acquire this entity called Airworks. Now, let's talk about the technicals of Adani Enterprises and how are they positioned? What is the likely move in days to come?
Well, Karunya, we seem to be clearly range bound. 9 trading sessions in a range between 3110 on the downside and 3338 on the upside. 9 trading sessions, no directional bias. But yes, we can consider what can be a hint of relative strength coming in. The 60 minutes, 120 minutes and 180 minutes charts are turning positive. We've taken support on the 55-day exponential moving average, but we need to take out 3338.
Okay. Well, I want to flag off a few earnings candidates as well on our radar. Icici Lombard is one of them. Their Q2 profit has seen a growth of 32% year-on-year, coming in at 590 crore rupees. Net premium that the insurer has earned has also jumped 18% YOY, coming in at 3,800 odd crore rupees. Let's talk about Icici Lombard. Yesterday, it shut shop in the green, firmly in the green. But what's the way forward in the next few weeks? Do you expect some more positive momentum on this counter?
Absolutely, Karunya, well pointed out. In fact, it is one of my picks for the day also. We've formed a base over here. The volume has improved. So while it is forming a base, the volume has gradually picked up. The mechanical indicators have given crossover buys, some after reflecting positive divergence. So we see it I mean, this is the daily picture. The weekly, I mean, we need the positives to percolate on the weekly also. So having said that, a short-term bottom, I believe, has been made unless 1120 breaks. So that doesn't look like happening. So short-term bottom seems to be made. And we are at 1150 around. We should gravitate towards 1180 and then 1200. So short term, the picture has definitely improved. Medium term, we are looking at a bounce, but we'll have to see how it handles the resistance levels.
Okay, right. The next earnings candidate I want to flag off is Praj Industries. Interesting stock from the broader markets, a lot of interest among trading community as well. Q2 profit has surged 44% this time around, coming in at 48 crores, largely backed by healthy revenue growth, good operating income growth as well. Revenue, in fact, if we look at it, is up almost 65% year on year. Let's talk about the chart of Praj Industries then and how it's positioned.
Actually, Karunya, we have undergone or we are undergoing a prolonged period of consolidation. 17 months and counting. Large range between 290 on the downside and 450 on the upside. And it is sort of straining at the leash, so to speak. It's on the verge of breaking out from here. We would need a weekly close above 450, which I believe it almost happened a couple of weeks back, but to be pinpoint precise, it's never happened in its listed history. So after 17 months, if the stock closes above 450 on the weekly, breaks out from here, I believe 500 would be a cinch. We should be moving gradually towards 550. So looks good. Major consolidation seems set for a breakout.
Okay, all right. Himain, request you to stay on with us. I'll just touch base with my colleague from Money Control Pro to talk about the FMCG stocks and the sector at large. Slew of earnings lined up this week, starting from Nestle to ITC and, of course, some of the names from the small and mid-cap universe as well. Nandish, hi, morning, and thanks for joining in. What we are given to understand from a host of reports is that consumption environment largely remains weak in Q2, more or less similar to what we saw in Q1. How about the inflation factor? Has that eased, or do we see some pain in Q2 earnings as well because of the volatility and the uptick we've seen in most commodity prices?
Hi, good morning, and thanks for having me. Yeah, in Q2 we will be seeing the inflation pressures because usually the companies have been carrying a high cost inventory which will be utilized in the September quarter. So in this quarter we also expect the margin pressures to persist like the June quarter.
But now that a lot of these commodity prices have started to cool off, they're easing a fair bit. By when can we expect that to reflect in the earnings? Will second half be better for FMCG stocks, FMCG companies vis-a-vis first half?
We expect the margins to recover in the second half of FY23, especially the players which are consuming palm oil, because palm oil has almost corrected by more than 40%. But recently we have seen that the wheat prices have again started firming up, and they are, I guess, higher by more than 15% in last 15-20 days. So the margin pressures will ease off, by second half. But the players, especially consuming, sugar and wheat, might see some pressure still.
And what about rural versus urban demand scenario? Is rural still looking weaker than urban, and does that mean that we should focus on stocks that have less exposure to rural markets perhaps?
Yeah, even in September quarter, we have seen that the rural has not recovered. But going on the basis of what we have seen in the month of September, especially with the buying of the festive season and with good normal monsoons, we expect the rural to recover, by second half of FY23. So we can still focus on players who are more exposed towards the rural segment.
Okay, all right. So do we have any preferred list of stocks or companies that look like that are strongly positioned for this quarter earnings that you guys are betting on will deliver good results despite all that is going on?
Yeah. Coming to our preferred list, we continue to prefer ITC at even at these levels, despite the outperformance against the FMCG basket. Another good pick from the FMCG is currently Varun Beverages. Even we like ITC, we like Varun Beverages, we like Dabur, and we like Godrej Consumer Products.
Okay, so from the large cap universe, it's mainly ITC and of course Godrej Consumer and Varun Beverages. All right, then anything else you want to flag off in terms of risks or any downside risks to watch out for the sector in the days to come, apart from what we discussed?
See, we have recently seen some of the commodities again hardening. So in case this persists for another quarter, then we are in terms of risk of earnings.
Okay. All right, Nandish, thank you so much for joining in and flagging off what to expect in Q2 earnings and beyond that, and stocks to keep on your radar as far as this quarter's earnings performance is concerned. All right, moving back on, Hemen is still standing by, so let's bring him on board. Hemen, any of these FMCG names that you like? This week, a lot of earnings are going to come out. And Nandish was just talking about the fundamental aspect that ITC, GCPL, Dabur, Varun Beverages, these names are looking attractive. But from a technical standpoint, any favorites that you have?
Oh, I heard the entire conversation, Karunya. But I think even my preference would be something on similar lines with what he said. ITC is looking promising, Karunya. We've had after years of, underperformance, we've seen ITC, sort of take its place in the sun. But now, despite a one-way move, we've gone up virtually from 210 to 350. It's taken 7-8 months, but it's virtually been a one-way move. But despite that, it looks technically set up. The technical setup seems fine. Varun Beverages is slightly corrective. Lever is consolidating. Dabur takes some time to move. But as of now, it's ITC. There is resistance at around 355. But on any time frame, Karunya, short, medium, long term, whatever time frame you look at, we are in an established uptrend, and it looks like continuing to do so. So frankly speaking, couple of months down the line, I wouldn't be surprised if ITC is at a fresh all-time high.
Okay, all right. Moving on, then let's also address some of our viewers' questions and comments that are coming in. Since you were talking about the consumption pack, we have a query on ITC, and if you could give us a target range on sell. This is a question from Monica. Most people are optimistic about ITC, but would you have a target range to sell it as well?
Well, Monica, frankly speaking, I don't see any technical reasons for a sell. It's formed a very small rounding bottom on the daily chart, which is basically a bullish formation. The move yesterday is on more than 2 crore shares in NSE cash market. That is higher than the last 5-7 trading sessions. Indicators are in buy mode on the daily chart, on the monthly chart. So frankly speaking, I don't see. I'm assuming a sell is a short. No, I don't see any. I don't see any signals to short the stock. In fact, it seems to be moving towards 350 and more. So no, as of now, as I see the charts today, I don't see any sell signals on ITC, especially for a short.
Okay, all right. Let's talk about some more queries and questions. Ashok is writing to us and he wants your advice on IRCON for the short term. How's the chart looking?
Okay, I am assuming the short term would be probably a few trading sessions. As of now, we've had a move from 38.6 to 45. It's tired. We are undergoing a cool off. So frankly speaking, time being, it's taking a breather. 41.8 is support. I don't expect anything much unless and until it closes above 43.8.
Okay, all right. Next query is from Aditya. He wants you to guide him on car trade. He entered the counter at 1319 rupees levels and wants to know whether he should hold or sell at the current levels. Clearly, the stock has slipped a fair bit from those levels right now. Sub 600 rupees. In fact, it slipped quite a bit, in the last 1 month, if we look at its September highs of 716, 717, it has given up more than 200 rupees on the downside. Do you think the downtrend could continue, and it's better if one exits at these levels and cuts their losses?
I think so, Karunya. Most of the new age businesses, whether it's Nykaa, Paytm, Cartrade, maybe even Zomato, many of these have disappointed. And Cartrade is same. At 550, we have a strong medium-term support, but I don't think this is enough for a reversal. It remains in a downtrend, and after the sideways move between 550 and 740, 735, it looks set to continue further. So I have a feeling that despite a slight oversold situation on the daily chart, I don't see anything which seems to suggest that Cartrade will reverse majorly. Support at 550, yes, maybe he can wait to see 550 works and provides the a setup for a bounce to reduce his losses. But no, I think he'll have to book a loss whether now or waiting to see 550 and then a possible rebound.
Okay, all right, makes sense. Another question, this is also from for the consumption space. Aarti is writing to us and she wants your view for the short term on Tata Consumer. How's the stock looking?
Tata Consumer, okay. Firstly, short term, the bias is positive. We're at 734. I believe we'd probably see 788 in the next few trading sessions. But despite her short-term view, I just 30 seconds, I'll take a slightly longer-term view. 1 year and counting, gone nowhere. Consolidation on the long term after a brilliant run, short-term bias for a few trading sessions.
Okay, all right. Moving on, another query on Tata Group company. Hemant Jaju is writing to us. He wants your view on Tata Elxsi. Following a deep cut in the stock, he's asking whether to book more or exit. What do you suggest?
Well, if the stock moves from 500 to 10,800, I think you can't run 2 marathons in a row. So honestly speaking, I believe the move is over for the time being. We walked into a correction of a greater degree. We're off from 10,700 to 7,200 in 3 straight months, and I don't think that changes. So it's probably a sell on bounce. I think it's going to take some time to recover simply because it's had a humongous, phenomenal move.
All right, next query then. This is coming in from Vasu, and he wants your view on the banking sector. I'm assuming it's the banking index he's asking about. And he's also flagged off a few individual names, Axis, Federal and SBI. So if you could tell us how each of them stack up against one another and if there's any clear winner here.
Okay, briefly, I'll just run through the Bank Nifty. Of 40,500 is resistance. We are in a short-term uptrend, which might get converted into a medium-term uptrend. We need to close over 40,500 to see 41,600. The 3 stocks that he mentioned, SBI, Federal, and Axis Bank. Federal is the strongest of the lot. I can't think of many of the stocks which have posted a fresh all-time high. Federal has. So we remain safely ensconced in a medium, short-term, and longer-term uptrend. All-time highs expected to continue. State Bank, if PSU banks are going to recover, State Bank has to be in the helm. Looking good, looks set to post a fresh all-time high. But the one stock which I kept for the last is Axis Bank. It's a very interesting scenario. Karunya, just permit me 15 seconds. We've been here for 18 months, Karunya. Between 620 on the downside, 820 on the upside. We are at around 816. We've never closed above 860 on the monthly chart in the listed history of Axis Bank. If it does, we're looking at a minimum 100-point upside. So, I mean, it depends on the strategy of the investor. If you want to look at a big chunk, but it's not yet confirmed, Axis Bank. If you want to go for something which is already in the 3rd or the 5th gear is Federal Bank, and State Bank is somewhere midway. My pick would be Axis Bank. Though it's not yet broken out, but the breakout comes in, it's going to provide handsome returns currently.
Okay, all right. Next query is for Pidilite. Sudha is asking if it will continue its strength in terms of technicals. It's still close to its 52-week high. It has cooled off a tad, but I don't know if one should be worried at these levels. What do you say?
No, absolutely, Karunya. I don't think one needs to be worried. It's in some Pidilite Asian Paints are in 20-30-year bull markets, and they still haven't changed. So yes, there's nothing to suggest a worry on Pidilite on technical parameters from a medium to long term point of view. No, seems safe in an uptrend.
Okay, all right. Very quickly then, Funny is messaging us. He wants your advice on Hindustan Unilever, whether it's a hold or a sell at these levels. He's not given us his entry point, but the stock very flattish last 1 month. Do you see the sluggishness sustain?
15 weeks of a sideways momentum, Karunya. So I think very valid question. Yes, I think you pointed it out nicely. Sluggish, and I think it's expected to remain sluggish until it breaks out on the range. Downside is 25.26, upside is 21.32. Anybody's guess after 15 weeks which side it breaks out. Having said that, it doesn't look technically negative yet. It seems to be consolidating in an up move. But yes, for this to fructify, we need a close about 27.32.
Okay, all right. The last query then quickly, Adarsh is posting a comment. He wants to know how Adani Ports could perform in the coming days. What is your reading?
Set for a bounce. Short-term bottom seems to be made at 771. Short-term bias turning positive. Resistance at 830, close above 830, V3 860. Looks good. Set to appreciate further. Stop loss needs to be kept in mind.
Okay. Eamon, you already flagged off that ICICI Lombard is one stock that you're very optimistic about. What is the other stock? You want to highlight it to our viewers now?
Yeah, the other stock is Muthoot Finance, Karunya. The stock is looking technically interesting. We seem to have formed a base over here. The weekly mechanical indicators have all given crossover buys. We've been consolidating for around 8.5 weeks now, and it started making the right noises on the daily chart, Karunya. We should be ready to overcome the 55-day moving average either today or tomorrow, and the breakout comes in at around 1068. So buy Muthoot Finance at around 1040, stop loss 1015, target 1090. It's a slightly modest target. It has the propensity, it has the capacity to overshoot.
Okay, and just before we let you go, I'm seeing a lot of questions coming in on KPIT. So if you could quickly give us your take.
Okay, I think the time frame matters. If you have a long-term point of view, this stock is heading towards 4 figures. A shorter-term point of view, we've been consolidating between 635 and 690 for around 19 trading sessions, so no directional bias. Weekly chart says it's a cool-off in the midst of an uptrend.
Okay, very well put. Thank you so much, Hemant, on that note for joining in and sharing with us your readings of the market and a host of stocks. With that, it's a wrap on Morning Trade. Thank you for tuning in.